What's popping in the streets, everybody? I believe, therefore I am King Siley. You know what it is. As you can see by the title, Rookies versus Vets was this past weekend, and obviously I'm here to do a review. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to Reborn and the Outsiders, Kingdom Crumpers, of course, that helped, Butter, Blog Nation, all the vendors that hosted Little Machine, or all the vendors that took part in selling the product at the event, and of course all the dancers and everybody who came out to support the event. But yeah, so let's talk about it. So obviously we had a little bit of a few stumbles and stuff like that this past weekend in regards to the event. Unfortunately, some of the battles didn't go through, which I personally think did kind of kill a little bit of the momentum of the event. But I understand, as any event thrower knows, that sometimes you deal with these hurdles and you kind of take the punches as they go. But let's definitely go ahead and, really kind of break down, some of the stuff that we definitely saw, and my honest opinion as far as like with the Rookies versus Vets and honestly where I personally think it's going to be in the next few years or so. But before I get started, the first and most important thing that I definitely want people to acknowledge, and this is mainly for the people who don't throw events, or if you're usually just a spectator or a dancer or somebody who just gets booked, please understand that throwing an event is not as easy as you think it is. There are a lot of variables that go into it, and you do have to take responsibility and accountability for a lot of things whenever they either go right or whenever they go wrong. So I don't want this to turn into a situation where everybody just thinks that you can just simply talk about events just because you can talk about events. If you haven't thrown an event, or if you haven't thrown an event well, then it's not your position to talk about events. A session is not difficult. Throwing a full-fledged event, that's entirely different. Bringing people out, booking people and stuff like that, planning out, events for like the next 16 hours, which would technically be like 24 hours, and then maybe on a Sunday, yeah. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first night of Rookies versus Vets, I definitely think definitely kind of was really good. It did start a little bit late. I do think that's kind of, I don't like to admit it, but that's kind of like that's kind of almost damn near known for crump events and dance events, especially out here in the southern region. I don't know what it's like on the other regions and stuff like that. I definitely know that's happened sometimes on the West Coast. But I've seen a lot of times where events are always starting late. Me personally, I can't stand that bugs the hell out of me when events start late, of like, oh, we're doors open at this time and we're gonna get started by this time. I think that is the one part that sets a lot of event throwers from the rest. If you stick to your time frame, I think it shows a respect for the people's time. It shows a respect for the dancers. It shows a respect for you as well. And also as well, it shows an important respect to the audience, the people who are not dancers and stuff like that, because we all know, like, crump is great and dance is fun, whatever the case may be, but coming to events and sitting there for 2 hours longer than what the event was supposed to actually start at, in my personal opinion, can kind of be a little bit frustrating, and it can be really draining, especially on top of it's like, all right, we're going to sit for an extra hour and a half, and then there's another 30-minute session, and then we're about to get started. So it's like, the event has been delayed by roughly 2 hours. I didn't write down the time. I'm not saying that's what it was, but I did know that we did start a little bit late on Friday. And the session was I think there was a session. I can't recall. There was an opening session, that's for sure. The opening session was good. So I definitely did enjoy that. But again, circling back around to time, I think time is the one factor, or keeping your time schedule is the one thing that's more important than the dancers itself. And I know some people may not like to hear that, or they may disagree with it and stuff like that, but it's like, look at it big picture. If you're always pushing your time frame back, for somebody that you either pay to come out here or you're waiting on somebody, you're never going to be on time. And more so, people don't take your event seriously if you're not sticking to that time schedule. You have to be structured. It's just, just formality, stick to your time frame. So, and then the tournament was pretty good. I did enjoy that. I definitely saw a lot of rookies. We saw a lot of people go through that sometimes they don't normally get an opportunity to shine like that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch it on the second day, but I did see that Zephyra and Princess C4 made it to the top 4 on Saturday, which was great because it was nice to see different faces for a change. So yeah, I definitely really enjoyed the fact that we saw different faces, and I think this is a great era for the rookies because they're really shining, and I think that we should definitely continue on this path that that is allowing more and more rookies and newcomers to come into the game. Crump is, as we know, in a very unique space right now, so I think it's important that we just keep kind of pushing the boundaries and keep making it a much more open environment where rookies can feel safe to come in and test their skills. So yeah. So the next thing as far as for me that I'm not gonna lie, kind of let me down personally were the battles. It is not to shade anybody in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I understand that this event is rookies versus vets. There's an objective here. It's meant to be, an opportunity or a shot for a rookie to battle a veteran. And I think the issue that we saw with a lot of that is some of these battles that we saw weren't that. And some of the battles that didn't even go through, they didn't even show up. So that definitely, because I was really personally looking forward to seeing Hercules versus Savage. Unfortunately, that wasn't able to work. And that really kind of let me down. And it's not, again, like I said, not to shade any of the other dancers and stuff like that. But if I'm just being transparent, there's some battles more than others that you're obviously looking forward to see. There were a lot of great battles. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't get it confused. Like, people definitely, showed up. I enjoyed Kill Bill versus Pun. Rizo versus Shakes was amazing. Decisions in Freakazoid. Cocky Kid versus Namix. That was like, I saw that battle. Namix won $200 because they bet on that battle. I believe the judges were Shakes. Judge, and Pun. So they're the ones that actually judged that battle, and they determined that, Decisions won that battle, that the $200 in that bet. Atrocity of Judge was great, stuff like that. So it was just, it's one of those situations to where it's like, there are battles that are going to be good, but like I've only seen Hercules dance once, and I've seen Savage dance a lot in my years, but Savage doesn't consistently come around like that. So it does raise the question of like, hey, will Savage be able to contend with this, this new young buck, who's really live and his Crump is really strong, so it's a great style clash. So when you have like certain battles like that, in my personal opinion, that really kind of make you think or kind of get the gears going, it sucks to see them fall by the wayside and not or fall through. So that was, I'm not gonna lie, that really sucked, and again, I'm not bashing anybody, stuff happens, but again, missed battles do definitely bring that to the event sometimes. Prime versus T-Hawk didn't happen. Unfortunately, I guess T-Hawk wasn't able to make it out. Prime was there, but that one didn't go through either. And I know that was definitely a topic of conversation for a lot of people. They were talking about, everybody was cracking jokes about Prime has no footwork and stuff like that. And, but Prime's material and his combos and character are always, A1. So it's like, compared to somebody who, like T-Hawk, who's extremely buck, very rowdy, and, his Crump is solid. You know what I'm saying? It's like a stocky version of 08. Not to diss him or anything like that, but they're birds of a feather, for lack of a better word. So, yeah, I really wanted to see that battle. It may not necessarily, may have been other people's preference, but that was one of the ones I really, really wanted to see. And unfortunately, they ended up switching that around last minute. And that was kind of one of the other things that I definitely did see, is that unfortunately some of the battles that didn't go through and stuff had to be switched around. A lot of people were getting told their battles like last minute, like right there on the spot. Like, hey, this person's not here, so you're battling this person. Because Quinga ended up battling, as we've seen, battling Prime. And, I just kind of spoke to Prime, and Prime didn't know anything about that until like literally right on the spot. That is like, oh, you're battling Quinga. It's like in those types of situations, you got to do a lot better on communicating to your dancers as far as like what's happening or what's, because if dancers are going to show up like way in advance, or at the very least, touch base with your dancers. Like, I think T-Hawk still lives in Texas. I could be wrong, but last I checked, he was living, in South Texas. But if he's not coming, that's something you need to know 24 hours in advance. So if A person like, hey, you're not battling this person anymore, you're battling this person. And not to knock him or anything like that, but my personal opinion, Queen is way better than T-Hawk. T-Hawk ain't really been around like that, and obviously Queen has been pushing the line to help a lot more. So it's like, that's something you kind of want to know. It's like, all right, I may have to beat this person in this particular way, but instead I'm gonna have to battle this person, who may be leagues better or may have a different skill set and stuff like that. And I understand, you're supposed to be able to crump, and if you're really buck and all that other bullshit and stuff like that, you should be able to just battle on the spot. It's like, nah, we got to put that aside and like have a certain level of common courtesy to people and respect and communication and say, hey, your battle's not coming. This is the guy that you're battling now. Are you cool with that? Versus it turn into a situation like, oh no, I don't want to battle this person. Oh, well, you're not buck. That kind of puts a lot of pressure on the dancer now to, accept the battle. So, it's a different mind frame. And then, Girl Rock Solid versus Lyrical didn't happen. Girl Rock Solid actually ended up calling out Lily, which was a pretty damn entertaining battle. It got it got pretty interesting, to say the least. But it was definitely one that I definitely can't wait to come out. So I'll just simply leave it at that. I don't know if they did battle, but I didn't see Animal versus OG Sparks. I definitely didn't see that on the first day. So unless that didn't happen or it happened on the second day before I got there, hey. But the only battle that I thought I missed was because I spoke to Ruger whenever I came in, because I came in late on Saturday around like close to 10. And he said, I spoke to him, he said the only battle that he missed was Ruger versus Wes. And, and that was another thing as far as timing as well, because I was at a whole nother event and I still got there in time to see like 5 or 6 other battles, which was like way past the time in which I would expected them to be on, So it was, again, goes back a little bit of time and more so a lot of the battles as well that didn't fall through. So, it's just a shame that some of those battles didn't work out the way that they were supposed to, but it's something that, in my personal opinion, definitely has got to be nipped in the bud, because it's going to drag on forever. That it's always, rookies versus vets may be this way or, kind of hit or miss, for lack of better words. But all in all, like I said, my personal opinion, when it comes down to it, I'm always going to enjoy Crump because I enjoy the environment, the atmosphere, and the community, which is most important, is to, communicate with people and, interact with them, express your love for Crump, which is most important. But in closing, in my personal opinion, looking at the rookies versus vets, at least for the last 2 or 3 years, I think rookies versus vets needs a rebranding, if I'm being honest. It's getting to a point to where now I think we're seeing a consistent of repeated problems as far as like starting late, people not showing up for their battles and stuff like that. Some of the battles being lackluster. I understand that rookies versus vets is a tough challenge, because if you're going to bring vets, obviously you need to make sure that these vets are not washed up, or they're not they are still actively dancing. And then also you want to make sure that there are new rookies in place to where it actually seems like a semi-decent opportunity for them to battle. You don't want to just put somebody who just came in 5 months and is still learning how to travel and really fully understanding what material and combos are, and then put them up against somebody like Crush or something, or that's not going to make any sense. At some capacity, rookies versus vets back in the day was kind of more so like, all right, this person's been dancing for like 3 or 4 years, it's still considered a rookie technically speaking. Now we're going to put this person up against Crush. You're well aware of what's expected to you. You still may not win, but we expect a fight. That's what it's supposed to be. It's kind of like an initiation. But up until this point, honestly, what we've been seeing is a lot of those have not fit that role. And it's just not adding up. Like, some of these battles are not rookies versus vets. They're just simply battles that are just being put together. I almost missed that as well. Like, we didn't have Mini God versus Killer Brutal as well. So again, it's those situations to where I think it's important for Reborn and the Outsiders and everybody in their production to go back and kind of really say, all right, is this really the direction that we want rookies versus vets to go? Because at this point, in my opinion, I think Rookies versus Vets was a good idea at the beginning, or I mean, it may be great for an idea, but I think now it's getting to a point to where it's kind of starting to become a stretch. If I'm being completely transparent, it's not hitting out of the park like it was supposed to, and we're starting to see a lot of the repeated people coming back with some of these battles. So I think, in my opinion, I think it would be cool if it was just simply, Outsiders Volume 1, and it's just a regular event, or if this is an event that would be more centered around Southern, the Southern movement or something like that, whatever the case may be. But I think that at this point, the theme of the event is becoming such a challenge that this event is falling short. And this is not the first time that that's happened. So yeah, we got to definitely for sure start getting much more quality battles that are actually going to excite people to come out here. And that's not a diss to anybody in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but there has to be battles that excite people that are actually going to happen and they don't fall through. Because if every time we have an exciting battle that's going to happen and it doesn't happen, it's kind of like, oh, well, the Rookie versus Vets last year, this battle didn't go through. So it's just, yeah. And of course, obviously, like I said, time management is important. It was, again, congrats to Disco because he got the Legacy, award, which was great. Shouts out to him, for all the work that you've done for the Southern region, which is dope. I think that's a great idea. I'm not shitting on that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Shouts out to the people who performed, Lil Machine and Grime, Claudia with her, her poem and stuff like that, which was great. Like we truly, truly appreciate that, bringing that creativity. But I think that, again, this event really needs a lot of, I think things need to be tightened up on multiple ends. I think that, I know it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse and stuff like that, but I can only say it so many times to where it's important that this whatever this event is going to be and wherever it's going to go moving forward, it does exactly that. Because right now, I just don't think that this event right now is firing on all cylinders. It was a great idea, but it's falling short of the expectation of which people are having for this event. And I've talked to a few people here and there, and the time is definitely a killer. And one thing that I've definitely noticed as well, which is really important for all event throwers, and that people know, like, I rock with Fenton's and stuff like that, and I like the space that it has, but the theme of that main room in Fenton's is not a good feeling for Crump. It's just not. Like, all that lighting and stuff like that and all that space that you give people, to roam around and move around, it takes away from the dancers, because the same way when you go to a movie theater, they don't leave the side lights on so that you can watch people walk in. They have one big light directly in front of you, so that way you focus on what's happening in front of you. You're not worried about what's going on the walls. You wouldn't know if somebody walked up on you until they're like 5 feet away from you, but you wouldn't see them coming up the steps. You'd be focused on what's happening over here. It's the same thing with Rookies versus Vets in that main room. There's so much light in there that it kind of takes away the atmosphere, or kind of like that, the buck and rugged atmosphere, or that is to be a show or an execution of exhibition of skill. So I think that it would be really important for the Outsiders to find a new venue, or at the very least, move it to that other room. Take away the chairs. Make it an event just for the dancers. Get it a much more grittier, hands-on, and intimate scene, environment to where the dancers can really, truly enjoy it. Because just as of right now, it's just not there. When I walk into a fully lit room and stuff like that, and again, I understand the vendors have to be there and whatnot, it just doesn't feel like a very, I want to get involved, I want to get interactive, or hop in the session and stuff like that. It feels like I'm here to watch, a regular dance event. It doesn't feel necessarily like Crump. So again, like I said, I enjoy the event, and being there amongst Crumpers and stuff like that, and the camaraderie and being able to talk with people. But I think a lot of it, we're missing a lot of key elements to this particular event that would make it truly one for the books. So shouts out again to everybody who makes it the event possible. all the dancers as well. Because again, like I said, I'm not going to pretend or be unbiased in any way, shape, or fashion. It is not easy to throw an event. So please don't pretend like it is. You can just hop up and do something great, because you don't. You don't know what happens behind the scenes. And I only know because it's happened to me, but I don't know specifically what happens behind the scenes of rookies versus vets. So that's all I got. If you got any opinions, let me know.